Hey there. Now, do you want to be able to enjoy the holiday season this year and be able to enjoy it fully? Those lovely family meals, the old family recipes that we like to get out at this time of the year, all of that stuff around the holiday season, and be able to enjoy it without the guilt. I don't know about you, but with me at this time of the year, it's like, but it's coming up to Christmas, it's the holiday season, it's all of this. And there are other people around me enjoying all this food, and I want to be able to enjoy it. And so I take the biscuit, or I take the slice of pie or the piece of cake, and I bite into it, and that first bite's really, really yummy. And then that voice kicks in saying, you shouldn't be doing this, you'll regret it, blah, 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 blah. And it feels really bad. Does that resonate with you? If it does, you are so in the right place, because it does not need to be like that. I've got some really good news for you. You can enjoy this holiday season without sacrificing the foods that you love. That's what we're here to talk about today. And I have the beautiful Kinga Gecsey here with me, who is an intuitive health coach and has learned a lot through her own experience and her own relationship with food, as well as through her coaching expertise about the things that we can do and practice. So, yes, we can have our cake and eat it too. Okay. Or our pumpkin pie or our turkey, whatever it might be for you, right? So, I'm very, very happy to have Kinga here with me today. Now, there is a chance that we haven't met yet. So, there's just a couple of things to share before we kick off. First up, if we haven't met, I'm Anna McKinley, and my purpose in life is to help women, particularly mums who are working from home, maybe running your own business, being a mum, and doing all of that other stuff, to be able to accomplish your goals in life while you're also looking after your relationships and your health and well-being. And it can feel so challenging, but it's so, so possible when we have the right support and the right information and the right tools. So that's what I'm here, that's what I'm all about. And that's why we're having this conversation. This is part of my Manifestation Mondays series, where I talk to people like the amazing Kinga, who are real people doing real things in the world to practically help people like yourself to be able to actually get more enjoyment out of life and be able to create a life that you really love. So the purpose of this is to help you to understand what are some things that you can take and apply and practice about eating well without sacrificing the foods you love, and also about creating what you want in your life. That's where the manifestation piece comes in. So we're covering both. So to everyone who's here live, so good to have you here live. We've got some great stuff in store for you. Do drop in the chat to let us know where you're joining from. We'd love to know. And as we go along, if you have any nuggets, drop hashtag nugget or whatever, and let us know what comes up for you. By sharing it with the rest of us, it actually will help you to remember things, and it also helps the rest of us as well to go, oh, I might not have thought of that. So please feel free to share. If you're listening to the replay, let us know. And if you know anyone else who is challenged by these kinds of issues and would love to be able to enjoy the holidays without that guilt factor, then feel free to share the love around the internet. All right, so there's my little introduction. Do stick around, because one thing I'm really excited about is Kinga has this awesome recipe that she's going to share with us at the end. So that's going to be fantastic. So stick around for that. In the meantime, let me introduce Kinga. Kinga, so good to have you with us today. How are you doing?
Much, and I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here as well. It's fantastic. So, Kinga and I were talking before this call about, there's so much we could focus on. And really where I'd love to start, not, you know, for me, intuitive health coach, what is that? And I thought there must be some interesting stories about how one actually gets into that line of impact in the world. So, Kinga, to start with, can you share a bit with us about how you actually came to be an intuitive health coach? What's the story there?
It started back in 2015 when I had a back-to-back relationship,
Hmm.
and I had started in 20. in 2015, when I started my healing and I was ready to start and expand my food, and back then organic wasn't as much. So I started my career, and I started to gain weight, and I'm not kidding, a pound a day. Like I just the scale gaining weight, and how can I do gaining weight and I'm not healthy? I'm doing all the things the past years, and defeated, and I started to go into I started my journey to the of integrative nutrition to have for my holistic and for my own what's going on with my weight. Because
I'm just going to pause you there, Kinga, just for a sec. We did a sound test just before we started, but just as you're speaking, it's just started cutting in and out a little bit. So, how's your internet connection doing there?
it's perfect.
Okay, cool. So maybe if you could just speak up a little bit. I'll just recap from what you were sharing, just to make sure we got everything. So you were sharing that you had some back-to-back abusive relationships, and coming out of that, and after having had your child, that you said you were putting on a pound of weight a day, even though you were eating well. Is that right? A pound a day. That must have been really scary.
It was very scary. It was very scary.
Yeah. And so that led to, so how did you discover, well, what was actually causing you? Because you shared that you were eating well and you were looking after that side of things, but you were still gaining the weight. So how did you figure out what was going on there?
Get it out was not for debate. I was vegan. I realized now it's sugar based. Really healthy.
So you're eating vegan, but you realized that sugar had something to do with it.
Yes, the sugar and even on a very restricted diet, because I healthy and I didn't bring myself to the point where I was eating had basically turned into sugar. The bottom
Right.
line that
Aha, wow. So you were you were eating really, really well, vegan, restrictive diet, but then certain things would trigger you to turn to the sugar, and that was causing problems. Have I summarized it?
yes. So basically, I learned not be sugar, or there are certain foods that sugar and it is sugar and problem that
Right,
sugar.
right, right. So sugar and these other similar foods were actually causing your body to respond in a way that led to an extra pound of weight every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so that led you down this route of looking at holistic health and intuitive health coaching. Is that right?
Yeah. I started to. I also realized that relationship I carrying emotion, the guilt, her, and affected the way I was choosing. And that was our emotions, our food choices. When I started
Right,
to
right.
take it along with the food choices like that's to drop.
That's fascinating. So just to recap that again, it was not just about the restricted diet. It was, I was carrying a whole lot of heavy emotion from my past relationships and stuff. So there was some guilt, there was some fear, there was some negativity, maybe even towards yourself. And that carrying those emotions was causing you to make food choices which were not healthy for your body. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Can I share something with you?
Yes.
That just really resonates with me, and I'd love for those of you who are, whether you're listening on the replay or whether you're listening live, I'd love to know if this resonates. If you've ever had that kind of situation where I'm doing all the right things with my food, but I'm still holding on to the weight, or I'm still putting on more weight, right? Um, my story was after I had my kids, and particularly after my second one. Let me just put it this way. I was half again the woman that I used to be. Like, I'd literally put on 50% more, half of my body weight again. And I'd put on so much weight and it felt awful. And I felt really, we get so critical of ourselves. And when we're trying to take the action, I was doing the same kind of thing, trying to make the right food choices, trying to make myself exercise with two young kids, how challenging that is to make the time. And you just get into this kind of cycle of beating ourselves up because nothing I do works. So sounds like, yeah, you resonate with that too. Anyone who's listening, let us know if this rings any bells for you as well, because if it does, you're not alone. And for me, I was getting on the scales at least every week, usually every day, and it was just every time I felt like a complete failure because every time there was no shift, it just kept going up, and I completely. There was a day I still remember, and I completely gave up on myself. It was like there's no point. I just throw out all my old clothes. I just have to accept that this is the way. Hey, Maite, great to see you there. Thank you so much for that comment as well. Emotional eating, right? Um, Emotional eating for sure. Yeah. And so much of our choices, including our food, comes from emotions, our food and our exercise. And I realized I was doing that, but I think there was something slightly deeper too, because the moment I stopped actually weighing myself, it was that weighing myself, I was focusing on the weight and I was focusing on all the weight I couldn't lose. And that made me get onto this kind of automatic train of doing things that actually reinforced that pattern of I can't lose the weight. And it became a self-reinforcing thing. And as soon as I went, oh, I'm just giving up, I'm not going to get on the scales anymore, I stopped getting on the scales and the weight dropped off, right? Because I actually started making different choices. Isn't that fascinating? So for you then, a big thing that you learned was about the certain foods that our body reacts to as though in a way as if we're having sugar. And I mean, we know about the dangers of sugar, but maybe you could recap for us what you've learned about sugar and these other foods for us to be aware of.
Well, what I love to the sugar and how it doesn't or eating it doesn't furthering and
Can you just speak up a little bit, Kinga, because it's still coming out a little.
it's trigger those foods are high fattening food like butter, a trigger food where you can't like have you tried chips and then you can stop eating it even when you can't stop,
Yeah,
right?
chips and chocolate are the ones for me, right? Chips, and especially at the end of the day when it's like, oh, and I've still got to cook dinner, and yeah.
Yeah, so that those are very addictive foods that can trigger.
Right. So actually, there are some foods that are actually addictive for us. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sugar
Yeah.
foods. Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So is it principally sugar, or what else do we need to be looking out for as well?
I would. So I like to chemicals and additive because those are also trigger the colors, like artificial flavors, MSG, right? The foods, the hormones, the meat, they all contribute to
Right.
to disease. And
Right. So the
these
number
are
one thing for us, sorry, just to recap that, the number one thing for us to do is really look. Firstly, I'm hearing organic is probably better. What's your is that it? Yeah. So without all of that processed stuff, without the artificial chemicals, the flavors, the colors, and also look on the ingredients and see, are there sugar or sugar alternatives added? And MSG is the other one, right? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
I that you can trust and or make your own fasting you can do for you and
So make your own. Yeah.
make your
So
own meals. Yeah.
make your own meals so we know what we're eating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And there are ways that we can make this easy. So thinking ahead, so we've got for people in the United States, Thanksgiving on Thursday with all the stuff around that, and then we've got December with pre-Christmas and then Christmas and then there's New Year's Eve. And so people who are wanting to look after their bodies and their health and are going, well, I want to be able to enjoy it. I don't want to be that one person in the room who's going, no, I'm eating well. I'm not going to have any of this stuff because that doesn't feel fun. But at the same time, we want to be making good health choices. So, what are what are some things that you've learned, or some tips or pointers that we can use so that we can find a balance between those things?
What I learned was create you can create desserts that's natural sweeteners like monk fruit. And or if you love what your parents are traditional, what I like to is in with my emotions and my feeling because of memories. There is what's my drive behind it. When I feel like I can have the piece of cookie. I why not turn off the chatter? Oh, you it's not good for you, or any chatter that gives you the guilt trip. Say, you know what? To myself permission to have a piece of pie with gratitude,
Yeah.
and just it because you're not gonna have it for another. It's have it with peace.
I
The
love
main
that.
thing.
Yeah, eat the food with peace. And just listening to you, I'm thinking this is one of the big differences, right, between eating well sustainably and being on a diet, right? Because when we're on a diet, it's got, and this sort of brings back elements of your story that you shared. When we're on a restrictive diet, it creates this feeling of I'm sacrificing and I'm missing out, this almost FOMO. And so, in a way, we're setting ourselves up to fail at it because it creates all this pressure of, but, I want to have that. Whereas if we can give ourselves that grace and that permission slip to sometimes have something nice and be okay with it. I love what you're sharing there about that emotional, and I just want to reflect this back to see if I've got it right, because I'm hearing that the emotions come in at two levels. One is that almost that addictive piece, right? What is it
Mhm.
that's making me excuse me, what is it that's making me want to have this cookie or this piece of cake or piece of pie or whatever it is, right? The candy cane. For me, it's always the chocolate. I want this because, right? Is it my body craving it, which is that addictive thing? I don't actually want it, but it's my body going, ooh, sugar, you know? Um, or is there something emotional there? Is it that I have this emotional connection with a memory that that food brings around? So that would be, oh, my grandma used to make the most delicious lemon slices when I was a little girl, right? See that
Oh,
lemon slice, and my body goes, "Oh, grandma." It's that kind of thing, right? And we go, "Oh, I'll have that because it helps me reconnect with the memory." So that's another way the emotions come in, right? It's that, but do I need to
absolutely.
actually eat that thing to reconnect with the memory? Um, and then the third thing that you're saying is that actually while we're eating it, if we go, "Okay, I am going to give myself permission to have one piece of that lovely lemon slice, my old grandma's recipe, one piece of it, because I know I like it and it can be enjoyable." And when we make that choice, what I'm hearing from you is that we can actually choose to allow ourselves to enjoy it, or if we then do that guilt thing while we're eating it and we go, "Oh, I shouldn't be eating it. I'm going to regret this," whatever, guilt, 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 that
Mhm.
that actually affects how our body responds to it. Is that part of what you're saying? That is fascinating. Can you expand on that a
Mhm.
little bit? So there's why am I eating it? Is it my body craving it? Is it an emotional reason I can let myself have one, but I don't have to keep eating it and give myself that permission slip and being aware of the emotions I'm feeling while I'm eating it. So
Yes.
the guilt while I'm eating it, how does that play out in our bodies?
The guilt
Mm,
is really hurting, creates an extra stress in your body. You eating that guilt, but and and stores in the solar plexus, God, and
right.
energy can is you know emotions um so you taking guilt and energy and that's
Oh, wow.
dark. So that you have a limit joy and with gratitude and your mind into I'm going to so you set your mind is with your family. No is gonna be there. You're gonna have one. Eat it with love and peace and I'm be joyful.
Yeah. So this is huge. This is so magical. So three things, really, three key things there. So boom, great big boom awareness. Everybody, this is a nugget for me. So share what nuggets you have in the chat as well. But a huge nugget for me is wow, the emotion that I'm feeling when I'm eating the food, I'm eating that emotion. I'm taking that emotion into my body. So when I go for the lemon slice, I can eat that lemon slice with appreciation and love for my grandma who's now passed on and appreciation that I get to have those memories, all of that lovely stuff. I can eat it with love and joy. Or if I let that voice take over, I'm eating guilt. And then that's landing in my chakras and my energy centers and my solar plexus and the rest of it. And I'm guessing it's also translating into stress chemistry in my body, like cortisol and other unpleasant. I mean, cortisol has its role, but it's also very inflammatory, right? And helps us hold on to that weight. Yeah.
Yes,
Wow. So that's
absolutely.
huge. So let me just recap. You're saying then that um, for us, and this is really about sustainably healthy eating, right? It's about our relationship with food. That if we know that we're going to be doing something where there is going to be food that we'll want to eat that maybe doesn't tick all the boxes of this is healthy, that we can actually plan in advance and choose our approach in advance and acknowledge this is what this gathering is about, and this is how I choose to feel. And I give myself permission to have one of those pieces of lemon slice or whatever it is. It'll be different things for different people, right? One of those things, or
Absolutely.
however many, I choose to let myself have that, and I choose to enjoy it from a place of love and joy. Is that a fair summary? Did I miss anything?
Yes. Great. Yes.
Oh my goodness, that's just groundbreaking for me. Thank you. And I'm just thinking that is so good because now I can have the lemon slice. Sometimes it's the chocolate.
You
And if
can.
I choose to eat it with love and joy and appreciation, I'm like eating all that good stuff. That is so cool. I love it. Thank you so much. So, wow, I could keep thinking about this all day. I just want to check in with those who are listening. And thank you. I know that the sound cuts in and out a little bit, so hopefully you're capturing some goodness out of this. Do drop if there's anything you'd like us to expand on, or you have any questions or nuggets. Let us know. And I just want to check in again with you, Kinga, from the intuitive, holistic point of view, and thinking about your own journey as well with that you shared with us about food and weight. Is there anything else? In terms of that link between our mind and our emotions and our body that you'd like us to be aware of to help us navigate this dance of the holiday season?
So all illnesses is just, and the gut is a mind to the brain. So what affect the way you think. What might recommend and you going to feast. If you can pay attention to eat with vegetables, so have your turkey, and then take a break. So it's that can create jams in the gut, and also lemon, and right after the turkey, cause probably and so wait with the dessert.
Beautiful. That makes
Am
so
I
much
right?
sense anyway. Can I just recap that?
Yes.
And I just want to say thank you so much to Cheryl Hyde for this lovely comment. That is so interesting. I'm so glad that that you find that. This is fascinating, and this is so fundamental too for us all. So just to recap again, we often forget the role of our gut. It's funny, we eat food and we forget that our gut has an important role to play too. And so, Kinga, you're sharing that actually there is that connection between our gut and our brain and our mind, and that they're related, and that we want to make sure we're looking after our gut, and particularly all of the flora and the bacteria, or whatever we want to call them, all of the things in our gut that help us to digest food. We need to give them space, is what I'm hearing. So ideally, you're saying eat the vegetables first, so that goes into the mix first, and then the protein, and then after having, whether it's our turkey or whatever else it might be. Cheryl's here from another New Zealander, so we eat lamb often. So that's quite rich red meat, right? So whatever it is that we're eating for the protein, you're saying have as much of a break between that and the sugary dessert as possible, because that allows our gut to not get overwhelmed. Is that about right?
Yes. I mean, imagine tired after a feast. Like when you eat, you get tired because your body can, like, everything is like dumped in your digestive system, and your digestive system is like extra hard right now, and that's when you start feeling bloated. You don't feel good. It's because in your stomach, and there is no room for digest. There is a rule on to had to eat digestive health, but I'm not getting if you can check during this holiday season, attention on not to have after meat, because that's really and affects levels. And
So avoid red meat if we can. That's what you're saying.
yes,
Oh, I think we'll take that on board. But what you're saying as well is being kind to ourselves around all of this. So it's having some principles and following them, but not beating ourselves up with them. So it's good information. That's really actually good information to have. So just recapping again, and a lot of this is acknowledging. It's fascinating for me how we live in our bodies every single day, and there's so much that happens automatically and amazingly in our bodies that we are just blissfully unaware of, and we often don't think about. So again, just what you're sharing about thinking about the energy that it takes for our body to digest, and that if we change the way that we eat a bit and maybe spread things out and don't overfill our stomach in any one sitting, as it were, that just takes a load off our gut, and then that in itself means that we're having to put less energy into digesting as well. Is that part of it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
More thing
Wow.
I would like to add, if you can incorporate maybe first thing in the morning, pill of your choice of your doctor. So like to use fermented vegetable because that helps the good for us, and that helps to break down or the carbs and makes it easy on your digestive system.
Right. So fermented
Fermented
vegetable. So are we talking here things like sauerkraut, things like that, or something else?
sauerkraut, yes.
Yeah. So, and there's actually, now that I think about it, there's a few different options there, right? So there's sauerkraut, there's fermented carrot, there's things like kimchi, if you like spicy things. There's different. So you're saying to have that fermented vegetables before a big meal or first thing in the day, or
Juice in first thing in the morning for it with in the food. And I also made a soda that when I started my journey with that I a meal or an hour after the drops replenish the
so
and
to
makes you feel
yeah. So this, and I'm just thinking because the sound started just cutting out again just now. What we will do for everyone listening, because there are some such good tips here, not just for the holiday season, but really just for looking after ourselves. We'll prepare some show notes from this call, which we're happy to share, and in which we'll just have a summary of all of these key tips that you can easily refer back to. So I'm just going to drop a reminder, but if any of you would like a copy of those summary show notes with all of these tips, just let me know below and I'll make sure that you get a copy of those so that you can refer back, because we're covering a lot too. And just to recap that, so King has just given us a bunch of tips about how we can look after our, what's the term, gut flora, is it? Microbiome,
yes,
something like that?
microbiome.
Our probiotics, yeah. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll put into the show notes just a summary of those tips with some options that we can have to make sure that we have a healthy gut, and also to replenish our gut after those meals. And that's particularly important after we've, if we're having that big family meal in the middle of the day with a rich dessert sometime afterwards, even if we're following your advice. Now, I just want to check, because we were talking as well the other day about that sugar addiction thing. And you were sharing with me that it's our body craving the sugar. And so that's where that emotional awareness comes in. If I'm really wanting this piece of lemon slice, is it me or is it my body craving the sugar? Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
and you checking your body and ask, do I really need this? Is it the memory? But if I choose to feel really good and it's gonna be okay. So I would ask for making a decision. And when it comes to the creative, so when you not in a way, why not? I can have another body reacts to the addiction.
Right. So a really key thing there is being aware in the moment of what is it that is making me want this? Is it my body wanting this? Or am I choosing it because it's an enjoyable experience or it has a nice memory associated with it? And if I have that one piece of lemon slice and I get the craving to have another one, again, being really, really um, aware in the moment, am I making this choice or is my body making this choice? Is that part of my body that's addicted to whatever sugar and fat and whatever else might be in that slice? Is that a fair summary?
Yes, I suggest and you see the lemon slice to a different room piece, and then makes it really connect with your stomach and questions like how you go out and decisions of eating food.
That's such a good point. So if the food that is causing this craving, if I can't see it and if it's in a different space, I'd have to actually get up out of my chair and walk to another room to get it. That creates a little bit of distance and helps me to be
Yeah,
conscious. Yeah, that is so good.
yeah. If it's
Yeah.
memory based, you can connect with the emotions. Your grandma, I can relate to that. Then feel that memory and then and take care of it, and then make that decision and eat from empowerment, is stress or guilt or negative emotions.
Yeah. The word intentional is coming up for me because it's like actually I'm choosing, you used the word empowerment. I'm making an empowered choice. I'm not letting the food choose for me. I'm not letting my cells, my body choose for me. I'm going, what would feel good for me in the moment? And I'm making an empowered choice and I'm being intentional around it and going, okay, I'm making that choice to have this, whatever it is. And
Yes.
I'm choosing to do that from enjoyment. It will feel good. And then I'm staying in control. Now, sugar cravings can be so powerful though, right? And sometimes they can get the better of us. So you do have this magic recipe. And I will just before we do that, what I might just do, Kinga, is because gosh, you've covered a lot. And for those of you listening, if any other nuggets have come up for you, just drop what you've gained. Hey, Nikki, oh, it's good to have you here as well. I just saw Nikki joined us. If you're still with us. So thank you everyone joining live. In terms of any nuggets, any other things that have come up for you listening to this, or if you have any other questions around what we've covered that you'd like to clear up so that you are empowered in this holiday season when it comes to food. Hey, Nikki, so good to have you here. Thank you. Um, I'm just going to do a quick recap of the things that have come out of this conversation for me. And Kinga, I'll get you to, if I've missed anything important, we'll get you to add that in. But also for those of you listening, drop what your key nuggets are as well so that we can all get a well-rounded picture. So a big thing, a big takeaway for me. Oh, hey, Maite. Maite just dropped the comment that gut health is so critical. Great topic. So that's a fantastic takeaway. And there are some really big ticket nuggets in this conversation. Going right back to the start, we actually talked about that's such a common experience of I'm doing all the right things and I'm not getting the result, right? When we get restrictive on ourselves, we go, I'm going to cut these things out. I'm going to do this exercise thing and stay on this diet. And it's like we make it hard on ourselves. And for me, it was I'm focusing on the weight and I keep looking at the weight and I'm not losing the weight. And so I was creating that outcome because when we're doing that, we are first, it's not sustainable because we're not giving ourselves the space to enjoy food. We're putting all of this stuff around it. But you also talked about that important role of our emotions and that the emotions we're feeling um, shape our decisions around food. But a really big one was you shared that the emotion that we're feeding, that we're focusing on, when we're eating the food, we're eating that emotion. So if I'm choosing to have the chocolate and then I'm feeling guilty because I'm having the chocolate, I am eating guilt. It's like, wow, do I really want to be eating guilt? Or could I give myself that permission slip, like you said, to be able to make an intentional choice that I'm just going to give myself permission to have one piece and I'm going to allow myself to actually enjoy it and eat it with joy and love and from a place of empowerment. And when I do that, I'm eating the emotions of joy and love and empowerment. I don't know about all of you listening, but for me, joy and empowerment sounds a lot more tasty to me. Drop in the chat if you agree or if you have any thoughts on that. So that was a big aha for me. And you shared as well that that emotion that we're eating, that it actually sits in our energy centers and our chakras as well as in the chemistry of our bodies, so it can have a really big impact, which to me that's like, oh my goodness, that explains why it was so hard to shift all that weight, because I was holding on to a whole lot of emotional energy. And I suppose if it's heavy emotional energy, it turns into heavy weight, right? I can see you nodding. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So other key things that you shared, Kinga. So firstly, we can become addicted to food, and that's important to be aware of which foods are addictive. So we talked about sugar substitutes, that stuff that goes into processed food, so the MSG and the extra salt and the artificial flavorings and colorings. So where at all possible, it's great for us to prepare our own food as much as we can, so you know what's going in it, and that you can make sure that none of those addictive things are in it. But even so, that we can actually be really, we can choose to take back control, even in relation to these addictive things, by setting a plan when we know that we're going to be in a situation where there's going to be these kinds of foods that have maybe sugar or whatever it is, sugar or fat or salt, the chippies, the chocolate, that we can actually pre-plan so that we can choose how we're going to show up and choose to give ourselves permission to enjoy that food and be present in that moment. So when we're making the choice, am I going to eat this or not? We ask ourselves, why am I, what is driving that choice? What is making me want that? Is it my body craving it from an addictive place? Is it me trying to fill an emotional hole? Is it me trying to reconnect with a memory that that food has brought up, which I can do with or without eating the food, right? I can remember my grandma anytime. I don't have to eat the lemon slice to do it. Or is it just because I actually know I enjoy that food and I can give myself permission to enjoy it? And that way, when we do, we can eat that emotion of joy and love instead of eating the guilt. I love that. And you gave another really powerful tip, which was those foods that were particularly susceptible to. If they're in another room, that creates the space for us to be able to make that decision in the moment from a place of empowerment. And so we can give ourselves that permission and be kind to ourselves about it, because this is about a lifetime of well-being, not a short-term diet that we're boxing ourselves in. Um, so that's what I've taken away. There's a huge number of things. I feel so empowered for this holiday season. I hope those of you listening do as well. Let us know in the chat if there's anything else that you've gained. And Kinga, do you want to add anything?
I'd love to create a gift, um, and that's it. And very simple to make. And that's you before your meal or 30 minutes before meal and an hour after. And it helps with the cravings. Have it after the meal helps to balance your
Fantastic. So this is like it's kind of a soda drink in a way. Yeah.
yeah.
So a simple drink that we can make, and if we have
Yeah.
it before eating, it helps our gut prepare and be able to be nurtured, and then we have it after the meal as well, and it will help that beautiful stuff that's going on in our gut to survive. So, and it's simple ingredients, simple, easy recipe to make. Is that right?
It's basically cinnamon and apple cider vinegar. Well, send the recipe.
Apple cider vinegar, cinnamon, and a couple of other things. So stuff that most of us probably already have, right? So if anyone wants that recipe, yeah. So good. If anyone wants that recipe, just get in touch with Kinga. And if there's anything as well, like if you have any questions or you want to clarify anything, drop a comment below and we'll get you the show notes. But you can also connect directly with Kinga. I've just popped up where you can find Kinga on Facebook. If you want to follow up from this conversation and connect or clarify anything or grab a copy of that recipe, send Kinga a friend request and a direct message. And that way she'll know that it's from this call. And just if you want the recipe, just in the message, make sure you include the word recipe along with everything else so that Kinga will send that to you and you can have a play with it. And that's also if you want to find out anything else about sugar addictions, how to manage sugar cravings, and more holistically how we can eat well. We've just scratched the surface today of everything that Kinga knows about this. So that's how you can reach out. And one other thing in terms of the recap as well, the other things for people to remember is that absolute connection. So Kinga, just add in here, but you talked very much that our mind and our brain and our gut are deeply, deeply connected, and that it's so important for us to look after our gut health as well.
It's crucial.
Crucial. That's a pretty strong word. It's crucial, and your recipe is going to help us do that.
Yes. And
that is fantastic. I just want to ask you, I mean, before we wrap up, is there anything else that you would love to empower those listening with so that we can feel good about what we eat over the holiday season?
Enjoy it. Enjoy your company, friends, wherever you, and make it about the connection you have with the people.
That is just so good. We forget that so often, right? That actually eating, and especially the festive season eating that we do, it's not so much about the food, it's about the connection and it's about enjoying the experience, right? And the love, that love of being with our family. And goodness, if we're eating the emotion, who else would like to eat a bit more of a dose of love and connection? Sounds good.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so beautiful. So hopefully everyone, you feel now a bit more empowered to enjoy the holiday season and not have to stress about the food. Just to allow yourself to enjoy it. Kinga, I want to thank you again so much for coming on. Even with a little bit of sound cutting in and out at times, you've shared so many good nuggets with us. So much. And again, everybody, let us know below if you want the show notes so you can refer back to it as you're pre-planning how you're going to enjoy your Thanksgiving and Christmas, whatever it is, Hanukkah, if Hanukkah is your celebration, whatever it is that you're spending time and eating lovely food with family, you'll be able to refer back to those show notes as well so that you can remember these lovely tips and nuggets that Kinga has shared with us. Just a reminder as well, if you do want to connect with Kinga further or want to grab a copy of that recipe. So it's a really simple, easy to make drink that when we have it before our meals, a bit before our meals and after our meals, it is going to significantly help your stomach, your gut to digest and absorb all the goodness out of the food. And that means that you're going to find that your energy is so much better, and that actually, you know, in terms of the way that your body adjusts to the food, it copes so much better with whatever special holiday food we put in it. Does that sum it up fairly?
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, fantastic. I love it. Thank you so much, Kinga. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And again, feel free to share the love around the internet if you know anyone else who might benefit from this topic. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Kinga, thank you again so much for coming on with us. And we will wrap it up there. So just a reminder, we do this every week. Every week there's someone new coming on. Next week, actually, I am speaking with fabulous Maite, who is here in the room today. So great that you could join us, Maite. And oh gosh, we are going to be talking about some fun stuff directly around how we can more intentionally use the law of attraction in our life to manifest what we want. Today, we talked about how we use it unintentionally, for example, by eating guilt with our food, which is something I know I have done. Stopping that right now, or by focusing on things that actually give us results that we don't necessarily want in our health and our body, which was definitely a theme in Kinga's story and in mine as well, that when we focus on trying to constrain ourselves, when we focus on trying to lose weight, all of these things, we're actually creating the opposite of what we want, which is not so good. So we'll be digging into that a bit more directly. Maite, I'm so looking forward to that. Thank you so much. So great to have all these thank yous. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for that lovely comment. Thank you, Nikki, for being here. We so appreciate you as well. There we are. Thank you so much, Nikki. And oh, yeah, there's a great nugget there as well that Cheryl I just saw this one from you, Cheryl. Waiting after eating protein before having anything sweet. That is a really fantastic tip as well. Oh, so good. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. That's a new one for me. And it's like, oh my goodness, that makes so much sense. So thank you so much, Kinga. Everyone, enjoy your holiday season. So great to have you here. And we will see you next time around. And but just let us know if you want those follow-ups as well, so that you can have the support you need to actually help you put this in place. See you all again soon. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. Bye.